All right, so Scott Clark, one of our tech leads for implementation, is joining us. Scott, thanks so much for coming on.
Huh, thanks.
So today we're talking about namespaces. As a lot of our users of our InterSystems technology learn about namespaces in the beginning, you kind of get the basic general definition, logical layer of separation, pairing with databases, things like that. Looking at it a little bit more from a Health Connect standpoint and what you do in the field with implementation, what are some of the additional ways that people should know about namespaces and the things that they should be looking for beyond just that basic definition?
Well, that basic definition is important. You can just start with, you can use namespaces to separate your kind of logical grouping of functionality.
Yep.
Particularly as you initiate your implementation, you can take advantage of namespaces to create test functionality, maybe even a test harness, and ensure that you have your separation of code that's going to simulate what you're actually trying to accomplish in the real world.
Right. So that kind of lends itself to, if someone finds themselves wondering, like, should I be using several namespaces? Like, if I have, John and Sarah on my team are both working on different projects, like, should I be having them work in the same namespace, use different namespaces? Kind of, are those some of the things that come up when people are developing their integrations in Health Connect, where they should be considering, hey, maybe I should have multiple namespaces to separate some of these concerns?
You could. I would say, typically from a Health Connect perspective, I think the breakdown of namespaces would be less so between different users and more from a functional and perspective. You might have functionally different parts of the organization that are just doing distinct things that don't need to be interacting with each other. They don't need to be storing the same information. And that would be a good opportunity to leverage different namespaces. Typically the namespaces will be more of an architectural decision.
Gotcha.
That you'd make, and then decide how to assign users to have access or not.
Right. Gotcha. Cool. So kind of taking that thought and playing it into what you've seen kind of as one of the tech leads for implementation for this product, what are some real world examples you've seen, maybe some simple ones that kind of demonstrate that example of kind of using it as a test harness, kind of having the user granularity maybe be a benefit, but not the driving force behind the way you're breaking up your namespaces, right? What are some examples you've seen in the field?
I think typically one thing that we run into is we'll have to interface in an interesting way with whether it's an FTP server that we don't have access to, or connect to a data source that maybe we haven't enabled the connectivity yet, and we'd like to be able to simulate that data stream coming in or going out.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that we've done is we create a separate namespace to kind of provide the other half of what we're trying to do, whether it's if we don't have access to the FTP server or to the data source, we can use that other separate namespace to simulate what we're trying to accomplish, or to confirm that, for instance, we're copying something around properly, or just be able to feed in test data as from the perspective of the other side.
Right. Nice.